Welcome on in, everybody, to the All Aussie Rules podcast. This is episode 49. This is our round 22 review of the AFL 2024 season. And what a bonkers weekend this one was. Crazy, incredible matches across the board. A lot of close games, a lot of upsets, a lot of top chances falling by the wayside. A couple teams potentially eliminated from finals contention. Not officially, but basically. Just a bonkers weekend. Who would have thought that the AFL season could get more bonkers after the previous few weeks? But there's more twists and turns this year than I can ever remember, and I think this was the most chaotic weekend of football I remember. It's unbelievable. So we'll jump into the matches in just a minute. But as always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all of those things. All the support is appreciated, so thanks. And also don't forget to check out the social medias. We've got Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We've got it all. Plenty of content over on all of those, so go check it out. Let's jump into the first match of the weekend. It was Sydney Collingwood at the SCG, and this started the crazy weekend. Sydney win it by 3 points, which effectively knocks Collingwood out. Not officially. They can technically make finals, but let's be honest, they can't really from here, even with the chaos that this season has been. I don't think they'll be able to manage this one. They were up by best part of 5 goals halfway through the last quarter. They looked home and hosed, and then Sydney kicked the last 5 to get over the line in an incredible match. Isaac Heaney and Chad Warner took over in that last quarter. Mainly Heaney was incredible, but Chad Warner was very good as well. They both had 14 touches. Heaney took a couple really big contested marks. They just were really, really good in that last quarter, and in the end, they were good enough to get them over the line. For Collingwood, their best player was probably Darcy Cameron. He was really good in the ruck all day. Won his match up against Grundy and did his best. Took some good big contested marks as well. But in the end, Collingwood weren't able to get over the line. Both teams were really effective going forward pretty much all night. Inside 50s ended up dead level. Both teams had pretty much the same amount of shots overall. But in the end, Sydney were more effective, I guess, in actually converting their goals, whereas Collingwood didn't quite manage to kick as straight in the end. Defensive efficiency, obviously, both teams struggled a bit, mainly due to the fact that forward efficiency was so strong. Disposal efficiency, Collingwood's was really good for the first 3 quarters. It dropped away in that last quarter, and that's probably why a big reason why they lost it. Clearances were pretty level across the board. Contested footy went the way of Collingwood, surprisingly. No other team are great at it, I guess, but Collingwood don't win it often. Uncontested football, even more surprisingly, went the way of Collingwood. Sydney just couldn't manage their normal game, and that looked like a massive positive for Collingwood. Tackle differential went +1 to Sydney, but Collingwood's tackling inside their forward 50 was incredible. And for the first time in what feels like about 8 weeks, Collingwood actually won the turnover game, which first half of the season was probably their best part of their game, and then it really dropped away in the last maybe 6 or so weeks. But it came back with a bit of a domination in that area this game, but wasn't good enough for them to get over the line. Game 1, Sydney pretty much guaranteed a top couple spot with that. Not officially, but you'd think with 2 games to go, as long as they win one of those 2, they should be fine to lock up top spot. That's a game and percentage ahead of the 3 teams behind them. That's probably been a massive win for Sydney's season. Just to get their momentum back a little bit. It still wasn't a great performance from them, certainly compared to what they were doing early season, but It's a step in the right direction after what was last week. Game number 2 of the weekend, Brisbane GWS. Another upset. Both teams went into this having won their last 5. Obviously, Brisbane had won, I think, 9 in a row. And they just didn't really fire the Lions here. They kicked 8 goals, 16, so poor kicking in front of goal really hurt them. As you can see on the graphic here, it's 28.5% kicking accuracy, which is a really, really low. They're not a great team in that regard most weeks, but this was a real poor performance. Their forward efficiency was actually quite good. They won inside 50s and they got plenty of shots. They just couldn't kick straight. GWS, however, were not that great at creating opportunities, but when they created them, they kicked straight, and in the end, that's the difference here. It kind of is the way GWS have played the last 4 or 5 weeks. They've been winning games, but they haven't been dominating like inside 50s or even like shots on goal or anything like that. They just convert their opportunities in the end, and that's what is kind of the difference between winning and losing in this one, especially. Brisbane, solid in clearances, solid in contested football, were really good in contested football, but tackling game, as always for GWS, was right up there. However, the turnover game went against GWS quite massively in this one, but in the end it doesn't matter too much. Probably the biggest positive, I think, for Brisbane in this one was the performance of Will Ashcroft. I think that's his best game of the season. I mean, he's only played, 4 or 5 now, but this is the first time he's really taken a game by the scruff and really asserted his dominance in it. So he was really good. He had 29 touches, a couple goal assists, 5 clearances. I think he was their best and potentially the best on ground. But in the end, GWS were just too good. Jesse Hogan kicked 3. He went into this round leading the Coleman, so continues his fine form, and he's continuing to have a crack at the Coleman. We'll get to his main competitor once we get to the Carlton game. But yeah, he's all systems going. And with 2 weeks to go, he's a very big chance to win his first Coleman. So he's cruising along. But yeah, just Brisbane let this one slip a little bit. Means that they're sitting out of the top 4 now. They've got Collingwood in Melbourne this weekend, so another massive game for them. Not so massive for Collingwood, obviously, because they're pretty much out of the race, but really huge for Brisbane. Still a top 4 chance, but this loss has certainly hurt that. They would have been going into this one expecting to win. It's not their first loss at the Gabba this year. I think it's loss number 4 at the Gabba for Brisbane this year, so certainly not the fortress it once was, but they will consider themselves not unlucky, but they'll be ruining their missed chances, because they certainly had the opportunity to win this game and they just let themselves down with poor kicking at goal, really. Certainly cost them. For GWS, this puts them 3rd on the ladder. They've won their last 6. They host Fremantle this weekend coming. They win this one this week. All of a sudden, a top 4's on chance. I was saying before this week that they had one of the toughest, if not the toughest, runs home across the 3 weeks, and I was considering them a slight outside chance to miss finals. This win has all but guaranteed that they'll be playing finals now. And incredible. I mean, if they lose both games from here, technically they could miss finals, but it's very, very unlikely. A lot of things would have to fall into place against them. But big game this week, against Fremantle. They get a win there. Top 4, certainly a chance, and potentially even a top 2. So they're flying along. Things looking good for GWS again after they started the season really well before falling away a little bit. Game number 3 was another bonkers game. It was down in Tassie in Hobart at Blunston Arena. North Melbourne West Coast. And if you look at the scoreboard, West Coast win by 5 points, but it doesn't tell the full story. It kind of does if you look at the quarter by quarter, but first quarter just, it was tight most of the way. Kangaroos kicked away a little bit in the second quarter, kicked away even further in the early in the third quarter. They were up 10 goals to 3 at one point, and looking home and hosed. But then the Eagles just came back. They finished the third quarter really well, and then got right back to level early in the fourth before Kangaroos managed to kicked a few goals away to lead. And with a minute 50 to go, it was still 3 goals needed for the Eagles to win it. And sure enough, what did the Eagles do? They kicked 3 goals and won it. Oscar Allen, the match winner, in the last minute. Crazy finish to this one. Who would have thought? I mean, we'll get to my tip later because I may have been bang on the nose on this one with West Coast by 5 points, I think, from memory is what I tipped. But just an incredible second half, especially from West Coast here. They kicked 12 goals for in the second half, and all of that, except for one behind, was from about halfway in the third quarter. So from the 18-minute mark of the third quarter through to the end of the game, they managed to kick 12 goals, 3, which is incredible performance and incredible offense, really. I look at some of the players in this one. Oscar Allen kicked 5 goals, including 2 of the last 3. He was huge. Pretty much the match winners there from him. Great performance. Elliot Yeo kicked a couple, which is a pretty big performance from him. Tristan Xerri was huge, as he has been all year. One of the best ruckmen in the league. 12 tackles, 13 clearances, 33 hit-outs, 30 disposals. There's not a lot he doesn't do. He didn't manage to kick any goals this game, but Sheasel was huge, 31 touches, 2 goals. It was just a big game from a lot of players, and in the end, the Eagles got the job done when perhaps they didn't look like they were going to, with even a minute and a half or 2 minutes to go in this one. But that's what happened. It was obviously the battle for down the bottom of the ladder, really. It's 16th versus 17th, but it does kind of just put the Eagles in the spot where now they've won 5 games this year. They've pretty much sewn up 16th on the ladder now with that one. 2 wins in a row here. 5-win season isn't terrible when you look at their first 3 weeks and how bad they were. North Melbourne, they're sitting on 3 wins. It's probably where they stay. I think they've got Bulldogs and then Hawthorn the last 2 weeks. So probably not a win in there for them. But a solid performance. In the end, they probably didn't really need to win. This keeps them locked in 17th, basically. I can't see Richmond getting above them. So, second pick overall for them by the looks of things. The next game up was another upset. A top 4 beckoned for pretty much, not guaranteed, but really set the winner of this one up. Whoever won was probably going to go into top 4. And Geelong went over to the Perth and beat Fremantle, who didn't really fire a shot. They were pretty ordinary, if we're being honest. They were okay. They went +1 in inside 50s, but they just couldn't convert it into shots. They barely had a shot all day. 38% forward efficiency is really low, especially for them who are typically a pretty good team at forward efficiency. But they just couldn't do it. Geelong's forward efficiency was below their normal as well, but it was good enough to get the win here. Clearances were pretty level once again. Fremantle tends to have this issue where they are by far the best clearance team in the game, but then when they don't dominate clearances, they don't win games. So this is 3 out of their last 3 losses. Hawthorn, then who they lost to last week, I can't even think of who it was. Bombers, and now this one. The clearance count has been kind of close. This one they actually lost and they lose the game. So it's a massive factor in their game that they really need to tidy up. They went plus 101 in uncontested football in this game and just could not convert it into shots. And there's no point on having 101 extra uncontested possessions if you're not creating shots. It's as simple as that. You've got to be moving the ball. You've got to be doing something with it. Just holding onto the ball for possession's sake is not going to win you games of football. And I've been on the Freo bandwagon for the best part of this year. But this is a sign that they're just not ready for whatever reason, because they have a dominant midfield. They just need to work out a way to, I guess, create more opportunities than they did in this one. Their second half of the season has been a lot better in that regard, but just for whatever reason it wasn't here. You look at all the big ball winners of the game, they were all the side of Freo, but they didn't really do much with it. Best players, Sarong, 22 touches, 3 goals was really good. Nobody else really affected the scoreboard like he did. As I said, big disposal winners were all Freo. But in the end, it didn't really help them because Geelong get the 4 points. What does that mean for both these teams? Geelong jumps them into the top 4 with 2 games to go. They probably still need to win both of those to hold on to top 4, depending on what other results happen around them. But to be honest, only Brisbane are the only team that can potentially knock them out. So maybe one win will be enough to keep a top 4 spot. If they lost both games, obviously they would fall potentially below Bulldogs and Fremantle, but it's hard to see that happening. They got St Kilda this week. A win there. It's not off the cards for them to finish top 2. The percentage would need to probably increase a little bit, but if they win both games, top 2 could be a chance. They by far the number 1 ranked Victorian team at the moment. They're two wins ahead of the Bulldogs and Hawthorn and Carlton, who are the next 3 Victorian teams. So they're going fine. They got St Kilda. They should. You'd think they should win that, although St Kilda were okay today. Meanwhile, for Freo, puts them in a little bit of danger, to be honest. They're only 2 points inside the 8 at the moment. They got GWS in GWS this week. And then I think they have a tough match in their last round. I think it's Port Adelaide over in Perth. Neither of those are guaranteed wins. And if they lose both of these, they could be a big chance to miss finals, because Bulldogs should win definitely one, mate, probably both. Hawthorn, who's behind them, should win both games. And Carlton, who's behind them, should probably win both games. So they could be in a little bit of danger. They have to win at least one of these 2 to make finals. It would be one of the all-time collapses if they were to miss finals here, from the point where they were at halfway through the last quarter against the Bombers last week, to lose that one and then to go back home and lose to Geelong this week. They wouldn't want to lose the last 4, because that would be a really, really poor finish to their year. Next game up was a Saturday night. Bombers, Gold Coast. And guys, it's finally happened. We'll start with this because it's the biggest story of the weekend. Gold Coast have won an away game. It's happened. It's only taken to their second last away match of the year, but they have won one. In a game that you just never knew who was going to win this one. It was tight pretty much the whole way through. Bombers got that goal clear. They looked like they were going to win it. And then Mac Andrew, the hero, took a mark with about 20 seconds to go, went back and kicked the goal after the siren. He was huge all game. He kicked 4 goals in the end. He's an incredible talent. He's probably the most exciting thing Gold Coast have going for them right now. His defence early this year, when he was playing defence, obviously, he was outstanding. He came from, I think he developed so much and is incredibly exciting as a backman. Last couple of weeks, they've thrown him forward once their season was over, and he's been just as exciting up there. He's got a very bright future. I hope Gold Coast manage him properly. I don't know whether he's better as a forward or a back, but whichever one he is most suited to, I hope Gold Coast build around him because he is an incredibly talented player. Sam Draper kicked 3 goals, Nate Caddy kicked 3, and Ben King also kicked 3. Who were the best players? I mean, you got to give it to Mac Andrew probably for his 4 goals. A lot of possessions for Nick Martin, 36, Matt Rowell, 32, Zach Merritt, 32. None of them really affected the scoreboard though. No goals between them. It's just a game that the Bombers will be kicking themselves. It doesn't officially rule them out. They can still technically make the finals. They would have to win both games, get a few results to go their way. But their finish to this season has not been good. We kind of foreshadowed it a little bit about 6 weeks ago. Not even that long. 4 or 5 weeks ago. I don't know exactly when it was. I did a video for my YouTube channel. Go check it out. About the Bombers comparing last year to this year. And they were pretty much in the same spot last year and fell away, and lo and behold, it's happened again. It's incredible. You couldn't read about it. Maybe they go win these last 2 games and get some good results to go their way, but boy oh boy, it's going to be tough. They got Sydney and Melbourne this week, and then they finish with Brisbane at the Gabba. So I don't know what's going on in Bomberland, but it's not good signs. Once again, dominated inside 50s, as they tend to do a lot. Like, they average more than 6 per game, more than their opposition. This one they had plus 11, didn't convert it into enough scoring opportunities and enough to really put the scoreboard pressure on the Gold Coast Suns here. Really good at centre clearances, but not good at stoppage clearances in this one, the Bombers. Uncontested footy, though, they controlled all game. They tackled well. They won the turnover game, but in the end, they just didn't get enough score on the board. And that's pretty much where the game was won and lost. They kicked, 12 goals, 14. Gold Coast kicked 13-9. Once again, it happens week in, week out. It happens 8 times a weekend. The team that kicks straight wins games. Okay, it doesn't happen in 8 games, but it happens multiple games every weekend, and there's at least 3 or 4 examples of that this weekend where a team kicks poorly and it cost them the game. And right here, that's another one for the Bombers. Not their first of the season either. So it's a season of what ifs and what could have been for the Bombers, but just like last year, they fall away. It has them sitting 10th on the ladder, only half a game outside the 8. So as I said, 2 wins, get some finals. 1 win potentially could, but won't, because they would need Hawthorn, Bulldogs or Carlton to lose both games, or 2 of those 3, to lose both games. But even 2 wins, they would still need a bit of luck, because as I've mentioned before, Carlton, Hawthorn and Bulldogs should probably all win both games. So bit of a disappointing end to their season, but they're sitting 10th. For Gold Coast, has them 12th. It's a bit of a letdown of a season for them as well. They've shown so much promise. Some of their performances this year have been outstanding. Unfortunately, too many away losses this year. At least they broke that hoodoo here. They've got 2 more games. I think definitely winnable this weekend against Melbourne, which would give them 11 wins for the season. They could potentially finish this season on 12 wins, which is pretty unlucky to miss finals on 12 and 11. However, this season it was clear from a long time ago that you're probably going to need 13 wins to play finals. And as it turns out, it might actually be 14 wins to play finals, which is absolutely bonkers. It's just been that sort of season, and it just keeps happening. We just don't know what's around the corner for anyone at the moment. Next up, Melbourne Port Adelaide. It was Saturday night footy at the MCG. Demons season was already pretty much officially over. It is completely now with a 2-point loss to Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide's season is up and about. They get the 2-point win. They've got 2 more matches to stake their claim on the season, I guess. They trailed for most of this game, to be honest, but they just stuck around and in the end did enough to win it. Quinton Narkle kicked a goal with about 8 minutes to go, and then it just turned into a stalemate. There was only 14 goals kicked for the match for both teams, so it wasn't a high-scoring affair. It wasn't the most entertaining game you'll ever see, but it was certainly close. Melbourne, both teams actually kicked really poorly in front of goal, as you can see on the sheet here. Melbourne's accuracy 36.8%, which is absolutely disgraceful. But what's even worse is Port Adelaide's at 26.9%. So only 1 out of 4 shots, pretty much, that they were having at goal was going through through the big sticks. So pretty poor performance that. Their forward efficiency number was low for them. Both teams were below their average in forward efficiency. Port Adelaide's dominated, I guess, the territory battle on most part here. They disposed of the ball better. They won clearances. The only thing Melbourne really dominated in here was contested football, plus 30, which Port Adelaide aren't known for being a dominant contested ball team. They have a couple players that are really good at contested footy, but then outside of that, they kind of lose it most weeks, so not that surprising, but plus 30 is a massive win for Melbourne, and probably something that Port Adelaide need to keep an eye on, because you won't want to be losing contested footy by 30 in finals. You won't win games when it comes down to crunch games against good opposition in finals if you're losing contested footy by 30. Some things that happened in this, obviously, as I said, there's only 14 goals kicked. 4 of them went to Pickett for Melbourne, so he had 21 touches, 4 goals. He was outstanding. Horn Francis, 28 touches, 2 goals. Charlie Dixon kicked 2 as well, and then everyone else was single goal kickers. It was just Port Adelaide just got over the line, and that's, I guess, all they had to do. Where does that have them sitting? It has them second on the ladder. Above, obviously, they jumped Brisbane this week, who are lost. Puts them a game and percentage outside of top. I can't see them getting to top. Sydney should win, surely, at least one of their last 2. However, it sets them up. They've got 2 games. They've got the showdown this week against Adelaide. Then they go over to Perth to play Fremantle. Both winnable games, also both losable games. They lose them both. They won't drop out of the 8 unless they get absolutely smacked, and somehow Carlton, Hawthorn, Western Bulldogs, Fremantle all win all their games, which is possible. But they should be in finals. They should be safe for finals. They'll want to win one of them. They win the showdown this week. They will stay in second spot almost certainly for going into the last round. And the fate will be in their hands. They should finish top 4 from this spot, but it's not guaranteed. They could also drop anywhere. They could drop 5 down to 5-6. Who knows? It's just one of those seasons. Big game for them. Showdown. Adelaide will be coming out to kind of ruin their party a bit. They beat them earlier in the showdown, and we'll get to it in a minute, but Adelaide were very good this weekend. Wasn't the most outstanding game of their careers, but they did beat a top 8 contender, so they'll be out to ruin the lives of Port Adelaide this weekend. They'll be wanting to beat them, so who knows what will happen in that one, but it'll be much must-watch football, is what I was trying to say. So yeah, check that one out this weekend. We move on to Sunday football. First up, it was billed as a mini elimination final. Um, and one team came to play, the other one barely even offered a peep. It's an incredible scoreline, it's an incredible match, an incredible season. Hawthorn, yeah, just can't write them off now. The odds are finally putting them as a genuine football chance. I think they're into like $12 to win the premiership. They're clearly maybe the best form team at the moment now. It was probably Brisbane, but now you, I mean, it's so tight, this competition, but boy oh boy are they playing some good football. What they've managed to do is very similar to Collingwood of 2022 and Carlton of 2023, where the seasons looked over and then they just came flying with a mad rush towards the end of the season, made finals, made a prelim final, Collingwood 2022, Carlton last year, but just fell short in their prelim finals. Is that what Hawks are destined to do? Who knows, but it's exciting for them. It's an exciting game of football they play. It's just, you just don't know what you're going to get. Bad news for Carlton. They're out of the 8. They have a few injuries from this one as well. So it's not great news for them. Charlie Curnow injured his ankle. I haven't heard how serious it is or anything like that yet, but probably puts a doubt on him winning the Coleman. He was already into second spot, as we said before this week. He kicked 1 goal here, but obviously Jesse Hogan kicked 3, so he falls 2 further back. He might get up next week, who knows, but it's not a good sign for anyone in Carlton land at the moment. Their accuracy was poor. Their forward efficiency was atrocious. They lost the inside 50s by 21, which is a domination in the side of the Hawthorn Hawks, which they've been doing lately. There's been quite a few games over the last month or so where they've really dominated inside 50s, and it's pretty scary for other teams, I must say. Uncontested footy, Hawthorn won it by 71. They did that exact same thing to Collingwood, 3 weeks ago, however many weeks ago it was now, and they've done the same thing here to Carlton. It's incredible. Dominated the turnover game, out-tackled them, out-possessed them, won the contested footy, just across the board. Hawthorn just so good in this, and Carlton just didn't offer much of a peep. Best players, I mean, multiple people kicked 3 goals. Josh Weddle, Jack Gunston and Deere all kicked 3. Ginnivan Bruce kicked 2. Few big possession winners. Matthew Kennedy for Carlton had 33. D'Ambrosio had 31. Sicily 30. Dylan Moore 29. It's just a massive win in every facet of the reading. You look at it, Carlton kicked 2 goals 5 after quarter time. 2 goals 5. And meanwhile, Hawthorn kicked 13-11 after quarter time. So just a flat out domination. Not much more to say about it. Where does that sit for both teams? Puts Hawthorn into the 8. And it's hard to see them missing the 8. Obviously, the way they're playing football, firstly. And secondly, they don't have the toughest run home. They've got Richmond this weekend, which they should not lose to Richmond. And then they finish with North Melbourne down in Launceston, which they shouldn't lose that one either. So they win both of those. All of a sudden, a home final's not out of the picture here. Fremantle were in a little bit of strife. Doggies probably should win both games as well, but it's potential that they could move up another couple spots and maybe have a home final, which would be incredible. I think they left their run just slightly too late to make top 4. Maybe that loss last week to GWS might end up being costly in terms of that, but overall they're playing some incredible football. It's exciting football, and it's very hard to see them missing finals. Meanwhile, Carlton, they sit ninth and potentially are going to need some luck to make finals. They should win both games, in my opinion, even with how badly they played here and how badly they've been playing for the last 5-6 weeks. They should still win both games. However, even if they do win both games, they're going to need luck to get into the 8. They even need big percentage boost because they lost a lot of percentage here and all of a sudden have a lower percentage than Hawthorn. Or they need Hawthorn, Bulldogs, or Fremantle to drop a game. So it's not against all odds. If they win both games, Fremantle lose both games, or even lose one game, they're in. So they have to win one more game than Fremantle, and that's still a chance. It's crazy where we've got to, but at the same time, Fremantle could lose both games, which, if they do, Carlton can still play finals. It's just that sort of season this year, and I don't know what this next twist is, but I know we're not done. The regular season is still going to have another twist or two. I just feel something's going to happen over the next 2 weeks that's just going to be absolutely bonkers and blow us away again, because it's just time, week after week, game after game, just things happening that's weird and crazy. Next game up was one that doesn't affect the finals at all, but one of the few games pretty much the only game this weekend outside of the North Melbourne West Coast one that didn't have any effect on finals football. And really, it wasn't that exciting of a game. St Kilda win it by 48 points. Never really looked like losing it. Richmond hung around a little bit for the first half, like they have most of the season. Even halfway through the third quarter, they're only a kick or two behind and were a chance, but St Kilda kicked away late. They kicked the last 8 goals, I think, of this one. Last 7 goals, of this one, to end up winning it by whatever I said, 7 goals to win by 48. So yeah, it was close-ish until that point, but in the end, I guess the better ranked team of the two got the win in the end. Interesting areas of this game. St Kilda just forward efficiency was outstanding. They won the territory battle, they won the uncontested battle, they won the contested footy, they won the tackling, and they won the turnover game. So they pretty much just won every facet of the game. Potentially, maybe, should have been further ahead, hurt themselves a little bit, but in the end they dominated the second half, especially in the last quarter, and they get the win. It doesn't mean a hell of a lot for them. It means a little bit in terms of where they're going to finish. It means that we'll get to Adelaide in a minute, but Adelaide also won, so it meant they stayed ahead of Adelaide on the ladder, which if they had lost this one, they would have obviously gone to 15th on the ladder instead of 14th, but there's still a couple of weeks left. Who knows what's going to happen there. It also only puts them a game behind Melbourne and Gold Coast. So, I mean, there's still the potential that they maybe go up another spot or two on the ladder over the last 2 weeks, but they don't have the easiest run home. They've got Geelong this weekend, so that's at Marvel though, so I certainly wouldn't write St Kilda off in that. They're a chance to beat Geelong at Marvel, I think. Certainly the way they're playing. Having a look at some of the best players in this one. Rowan Marshall was best ruckman on the ground. He was great. Daniel Rioli, 36 touches. I don't know what his career high is, but he wouldn't have had too many games above 36, I wouldn't have thought. Sinclair was solid. Goal kickers, we had Membry, and Rowan Marshall with 3 each. Cooper Sharman, he's been in a good little bit of form. He kicked 2. Hugo Ralphsmith 2 for the Tigers. Dan Butler 2, and then Bolton and Bauer both with 2 as well. Yeah, what else have we got that's interesting from this game? Probably not a whole heap, to be honest. It was yeah, we'll move on to the final game, I guess. Sorry, I was just looking at Daniel Rioli's stats and I couldn't find it quick enough. I was hoping that it was going to tell me his career best. Oh, here we go. Top career performance, 36 disposals. There you go. So yes, that was his career high, 36. Last game of the round was Adelaide versus the Bulldogs. And what can we say? Poor kicking cost games. Adelaide win it comfortably, 39 points. Should they have won it by 39 points? Debatable. But they led the whole game. The Bulldogs barely put up a bark. They did so many things right, but that has just hurt themselves really. The forward efficiency of Adelaide was outstanding at 60.5%. That's close to their best of the year. Meanwhile, Bulldogs at 45.8%, is not that far off their average, but certainly below average. Their accuracy was horrendous, 33.3% when kicking a goal. Inside 50 differential, massively on the Bulldogs side, but what's it matter when you lose the game? Clearances, not too dissimilar for both teams. Contested footy went the way of the Crows, which is a bad sign for the Doggies. Crows don't win the contested footy all that often. Certainly shouldn't be beating the Doggies in it. Uncontested footy also went the way of the Crows, but both teams do play uncontested footy a lot. Bulldogs are very good at it though, so it's a little surprising again. Tackles went the way of the Dogs, but in the end, it didn't really help them because they kicked 9 goals, 18. They kick 18 goals, 9, they win. But in the end, Adelaide deserved the win. They get the win, and I don't know what else to say about it. I clicked the wrong button there. Best players here. Darcy Fogarty kicks 5. Good outstanding game by him. He only had 9 touches but 5 goals, which is what you want from a big key forward. Ben Keys continued his really good second half of the season. He's been outstanding. Almost Adelaide's best over the last probably 5-6 weeks, I would say. Meanwhile, poor kicking, as I said, really hurt the Dogs. Sam Darcy kicked 1 goal, 5 for reference on where things went wrong. Lot of good players for the Crows. Doggies all kind of just underperformed. Treloar only had 28 and a goal, which is an outstanding game typically, but for someone that's been averaging over 30 touches, a little bit down. Bont 26 and 2, he was great, but Libba 24. They're just all kind of slightly below what they normally get and put out, so a little bit costly there. But in the end of the day, that's what happens. Adelaide, their season was already over. St Kilda also won, as we said, so they stayed 15th on the ladder. They're probably not going to go any higher than 14th. They've got the showdown this weekend, which typically you'd be like, oh, maybe just lose it and stay in 15th, but they're never going to lose a showdown on purpose. They're going to go out and try their best to win that one, especially because of the ramifications it could have on Port Adelaide. Bulldogs, costly loss. Puts them 7th on the ladder. If they had won this, they would only be 6th on the ladder, but they would be in striking distance of the 4 teams above them. Whereas now, top 4's very much unlikely. They're 2 games out of the top 4. They have got percentage on their side, but they would need a bit of luck to go their way in terms of either GWS, Geelong or Brisbane to lose 2 games and then win both games, which they should do. They've got North Melbourne this week. They'll probably win that by 100 and something points. Who knows? It's the Bulldogs. Every time we start to think we've figured them out, they go out and do this. So who knows? They're just one of the most inconsistent teams of all time, and every time that we think they're starting to show consistency, they just don't. Anyway, we'll quickly run through the ladder now that we've seen that. I don't have a graphic for it, but we will just quickly run through it. So Sydney sit on top. They're a game clear of Port Adelaide, GWS, Geelong, who are second, third and fourth. They're half a game ahead of Brisbane, who's one game ahead of Fremantle in sixth, who's half a game ahead of Bulldogs, Hawthorn, Carlton, who sits ninth. They're half a game ahead of Essendon, who's half a game ahead of Collingwood. Then it's a game back to Gold Coast and Melbourne. Then a game back to St Kilda in 14th. Half a game to Adelaide in 15th. Bless me. They're 3.5 games ahead of West Coast in 16th. They're 2 games ahead of North Melbourne in 17th. And then the Tigers are a game and percentage back in 18th. We'll finish this episode up. We'll have a look at my tips, how they went this weekend. And she's a mixed bag, let me tell you. We started on fire. Game 1, we went Sydney by 5. They won by 3. So we were so close. Game 2, we got this one wrong. Hand up, we got it wrong. We went Brisbane by 24. GWS came out and played. Brisbane kicked poorly. Giants won it by 18. Game 3, we get that right. West Coast by 5. West Coast won by 5. Did it look like we were going to get that one? No, it did not. But we got it. Next up, we got Fremantle wrong. We had it by 16. Geelong won by 11. We got Essendon wrong. We had it by 8. Gold Coast won by 1. Next up, we had Port Adelaide by 32. They only won by 2, but at least we get the tick. We had Hawthorn by 8 points. They won by 74, so we're a long way off on that margin, but nonetheless, we got it right. St Kilda, we had by 27. They won by 48. And then, obviously, we got game 9 incorrect. We had Bulldogs by 25, and Adelaide won it by 39. So, the way it ends up, we went 5 of 9, which, to be honest, with the chaos that this weekend was, isn't that bad of a result, to be honest. We're 120 out of 189 for the season, which has us at about 63.5% roughly, which is about where we've been for the last 6 weeks. We have a good week, then we have a bad week, and this week was just an average week, just in the middle. But that's all Aussie rules. That's episode 49. Next one's the Big 50, which will be our round 23 preview, as always. 2 podcast episodes a week. We've got the one previewing on Fridays, and then as this one is a review, which goes live every Monday on Spotify and YouTube. Plenty of other content goes live on YouTube every week. We make at least one more video highlighting something that's happened in the week. Haven't decided what this week's episode is, but tune back into the YouTube channel, subscribe, and find out what it is. It'll go live on Wednesday, maybe even Tuesday, we'll see. Also, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. As I said, maybe I didn't say, I don't know, but make sure you do all of the above. And also check out all the social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Thanks for tuning in. As always, this has been All Aussie Rules. We'll be back on Friday.